Hello student, I am Arun Devkar, Assistant Professor, AISSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology. Let us start with a new chapter on energy flow in an ecosystem, food chain, food webs and ecological succession. Introduction to ecology. The word ecology is derived from Greek word okios, meaning house, habitat or place of living, and logos, meaning to study. Ecology is defined as the study of interrelationship of different organisms with each other and their environmental. It is the concern with the general principle that applies to both animals and plants. Under ecology, we are going to study various ecosystems which are a part of the biosphere. An ecosystem includes all the organisms and non-living environmental that are found in a particular place. Let us discuss ecosystem. An ecosystem is a community of living organisms called producer, consumer and decomposer. The study of certain processes that link the living or biotic component to the non-living or abiotic components. Ecosystem is equal to community plus abiotic environment interacting. Definition of ecosystem. According to the E.O. Odom, an American ecologist, the ecosystem is the basic functional unit of organism and their environmental interacting with each other and with their own components. For example, grassland, forest, aquarites, ponds, lakes, rivers and the oceans. Types of ecosystem. Natural ecosystem. These operates under natural condition without any major interferences by man. In natural ecosystem, the first one is terrestrial ecosystem. Under terrestrial ecosystem, forest, grassland, desert, etc. will be included. Second one, that is aquatic ecosystem. Under the aquatic ecosystem, fresh water is there. Lotic running water like spring, streams or river, or lentic standing water as lake, ponds, pools, etc. Then B, marine water such as deep bodies as ocean or shallow ones as sea or in entire water. Types of ecosystem, we are going to discuss second point, that is artificial ecosystem. Under this is also called man-engineered ecosystem. These are maintained artificially by man, where by addition of energy and planned manipulation, natural balance is distributed regularly. For example, crops and land in the ecosystem. Components of ecosystem. Components of ecosystem. Underneath the ecosystem, there is an abiotic components. Under the abiotic components, climatical factors are included. Under climatical factors, rain is there, light is there, wind is there, and temperature is there. Then under the second part, under the abiotic component, that is apodic factors, that is soil, pH value, minerals, and topography. Then let us discuss biotic components. Under biotic components, there are three components under biotic components. First one is producer, that is also called autotrophs. The second one is consumer, that is called heterotrophs. Under heterotrophs, the primary consumers are there and the secondary consumers are there, tertiary consumers are there, and quaternary consumers are there. After this, there is one more biotic components are there, that is called decomposer. that is also called saprotrophs. Components of the ecosystem. Let us discuss abiotic components. Abiotic consisting of non-living chemical and physical component such as water, air, nutrients in the soil or water, and a solar energy. Under this, physical and chemical factors that influences living organism in land, terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic life zones. Abiotic factors can act as a limiting factor that keep population at a certain level. Abiotic components are mainly of two types. First one is climatical factor, which includes rain, temperature, light, winds, etc. Then second one is abiotic factors, which includes soil, pH value, topography and minerals, etc. Let us discuss second components, that is biotic factor. All the living things that directly or indirectly affect the ecosystem, biotic factors interact with other living organisms, and the physical environmental can also be limiting factor. For example, say bacteria, predators and food resource made up of biological components consisting of living and dead plants, animals and microorganisms. The major biological components of ecosystem is producer, that is also called autotrophs, self-feeder, make their own food from the components that are obtained from their environment, are the sources of all food in an ecosystem. On land, most producer are green plants. In freshwater, the marine ecosystem and plants are the major producer near shorelines. In open water, the dominant producer are most of them microscopic that floats or draft in the water. Most producer capture sunlight to make carbohydrates such as a glucose by photosynthesis. Next one, that is consumer, also called heterotrophs, get their energy and nutrients by feeding on other organism or their remains. Underneath this, primary consumers are there. Primary consumers are those that eat producer, for example say plants, as a source of food. They are also known as herbivores. Secondary consumer or carnivores, eat other animals. Then another one is tertiary consumer, large carnivores which feed on secondary consumer. Then next one, quaternary consumer, largest carnivores that feed on tertiary consumer. They are not eaten by any animal. Then omnivores have mixed diet that includes both plants and animals. Abiotic components of an ecosystem, physical factors such as pH level will be included in this, temperature is there, light intensity is there, humidity is there, topography is there, then microclimatic and the aquatic factors are included in this. The pH value of the soil and water affect the distribution of an organism. Most organisms live in a natural, nearly neutral environment. Temperature affect the biochemical reaction in an organism. Let us discuss functions of an ecosystem. Every ecosystem performs under natural condition in a systematic way. It receives the energy from the sun and passes it on through the biotic components. Beside energy, various nutrition and water are also required for life process. The biotic component also regulate themselves in a very systematic manner. The major attributes of an ecosystem are food chain, food webs and trophic structure, energy flow, cycling of nutrients, biogeochemical cycle, primary and secondary production, ecosystem development and regulation. Let us discuss trophic structure. The procedure and consumer are arranged in the ecosystem in a definite manner, and their interaction along with the population size and are expressed together. Trophic structure. Each food level is known as trophic levels. Let us discuss food chain. In a food chain, every organism needs to obtain energy in order to live. For example, plants get energy from the sun. Some animals eat plants and some animals eat other animals. A food chain is the sequence of who eats whom in a biological community and ecosystem to obtain nutritions. A food chain shows the feeding relationship between different living things in a particular habitat. Food chains show how energy is passed from the sun to produce, from producer to consumer, and from consumer to decomposer. In an ecosystem, many food chain overlaps. When this happens, the food chain form. Let us discuss significance of food chain and food webs. First point, food chain and food webs plays a very significant role in the ecosystem because the two most important functions of energy flow and nutritional cycling takes place. Second, the food chains also helps in maintaining and regulating the population size of different animals and thus helps maintain the ecological balance. Third one, food chain shows a unique property of biological significance of some chemical. Definition: there are several pesticides, heavy metals and other chemicals which are non-biodegradable in nature. Such chemicals are not decomposed by microorganisms and they keep on passing from the trophic level to another, and at each successive level they keep on increasing, and this phenomena is known as biological energy flow in an ecosystem. Biological activities required energy which ultimately comes from the sun. Solar energy is transferred into chemical energy by a process of photosynthesis. This energy is stored in a plant tissues and then transferred into the heat energy during the metabolic activities. Thus, the biological world, the energy flow from the sun to plant, then to all heterotrophs organism. The flow of energy is unidirectional and non-cyclic. This one-way flow of energy is governed by laws of thermodynamics, which state that energy can neither be created or nor be destroyed, but may be transferred from one form to another. During the energy transfer, there is a degradation of energy from a concentrated form, that is mechanical, chemical or electrical, etc., to be dissipated from the heat. No energy transformation is 100% efficient. It is always accomplished by some depreciation or loss of energy in the form of heat. Therefore, biological system include ecosystem must be supplied with energy on a continuous basis. Energy flow in an ecosystem: sun producer, heat, then consumer, decomposer, and inorganic nutritional pool is there. So this is a totally cyclic process is there. During the transfer of energy in an ecosystem, energy is lost as heat. Although heat can be used to do work as in a steam engine, it is generally not useful form of energy in biological system. Thus, the amount of useful energy decreases as energy passes through the level of an ecosystem. This loss of energy limits the number of trophic level and ecosystem support. Energy flow of an ecosystem explained by three energy flow models. They are universal energy flow model, then single channel energy flow model, double channel energy flow model. Let us discuss energy flow in ecosystem. Energy is lost while moving from one trophic level to another trophic level, indicating by narrow pipes and small boxes. Energy lost is the one which is not utilized. This is lost due to locomotion. Rest energy is used for production. Let us discuss ecological succession. Ecological succession is a process through which ecosystems tend to change over a period of time. Succession can be related to a seasonal environmental changes which create changes in the community of plants and animals living in the ecosystem. Other successional events may take much longer period of time, extending to several decades. If a forest is cleared, it is initially colonized by a certain groups of species of plants and animals, which gradually change through an orderly process of an community development. One can predict that an opened up will gradually be converted into a grassland, a shrubland, and final woodland and a forest if permitted to do so without human interferences. There is a tendency for succession to produce a more less stable state at the end of the successional stages. Developmental stages in the ecosystem thus consist of a pioneer stage, a series of changes known as serial stage, the final a climax stage. The successive stage are related to the way in which energy flow through the biological system. The most frequent example of succession changes occur in a pond ecosystem, where it is fluctuate from a dry terrestrial habitat to the earlier colonization stage by small aquatic species after the monsoon, which gradually process through to a mature adequate ecosystem and then revert back to its dry stages in summer, where it is aquatic life remains dominant. In today's session, we have discussed ecosystem definition, and underneath the ecosystem we had discussed abiotic factors, and another one is abiotic factor. Under the abiotic factor we had discussed producer, after that we had discussed consumer, underneath the consumer we had discussed primary consumer, secondary consumer, and tertiary consumer, and after that the decomposers. We had discussed structure and the functions of ecosystem, how it works in this environment. Then producer and consumer and decomposer, what is the characteristic of the consumer, producer and decomposer in this environmental, that we had discussed in today's session. Energy flow in the ecosystem, how it works. The carbon cycle we had discussed. Thank you.